Hello, everybody. I'm going on a little early, a couple minutes early, just to say hi. I'm here by myself tonight. Sabrina had overtime at work, and thank you. Somebody else wants to join. Say hi, Nixie. So Sabrina had to work overtime. Beth's had some car issues. So tonight it's going to be me and the guys from SRS Paranormal. Hi, Nikita. Hi, Tom. Hi, everybody. The guys from SRS. I love how I captioned that. SRS Paranormal Brew. I just put it into one big, huge little quote there. Hi, John. So I just want to say, look, my girl here, she wants to stop hitting my lippy. Anyway, so I'm going to have the guys on. I want to talk about their team, upcoming events, all kinds of stuff. I know them. I investigated with them before. They're really great. They're a really great team. Nikita, she was at the investigation, and Rhonda was there as well, some other teams. So looking forward to tonight. I know it's just me and you're only seeing my face, but I'm working on that as well. As we learned last night, Facebook has stopped split screen. So Kenny Biddle shared something with me that I can probably try to use with my laptop, but I'm going to have to do that. It was just too short of a notice to be able to get it working tonight for Matt and Al. So we're just going to chit chat, and they're going to call on the phone and hello, good evening. And anybody that has any questions for me, just let me know, and I can, ask them. They are from Tennessee, firefighters by day, so I thank them for their service. And they are paranormal investigators, and they raise money for historical sites, and they're having a big, huge event in North Carolina, I believe. It's called Hex Pro, so we will talk about that. Hopefully discuss maybe the next time we're going to be able to investigate together. And all that. Sorry. Hi, Frank. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So just waiting on their call. And hi, Sharon. Oh my gosh, they can hear you doing the dishes.
You're welcome.
Joss, he said you're welcome. Oh, here they are. Hello.
Hey.
Hi guys, how are you?
We're good. How are you?
Very good. So everybody out there in Facebook land, let me know if you can't hear my boys, and I'll flip the phone. But I have Matt Sorge and Al James from SRS Paranormal. You guys there?
We're here.
I was just talking before you guys called about how we investigated at Wildwood, and that was the first time we met. And how awesome it was, how awesome you guys are.
Well, we appreciate you saying that. It was awesome to get to meet you guys too.
Yeah.
We had a great time.
Yeah, we did. We really did. I hear the conditions are a lot better there now, from when we were there.
Is the creature that lived in the downstairs still there?
No, he's not there.
And that's not paranormal, by the way.
Right. Yeah, no, he's gone. The animals are gone. Sadly, you know how I felt about that Houdini, that black cat. But yeah, so my friend actually, Megan, investigated there, and she said it was like clean and no signs of extra visitors and stuff like that. So
That's good. So they didn't have to rent a hotel room just to take a shower.
right. Yes. We had to rent hotel rooms to take showers. It was that bad. But we had a great time. We did.
That's good to hear, because I'd really love to do Wildwood again sometime.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, we'll wrap Wildwood, Hinsdale, and Rolling Hills all in one trip.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome. Rolling Hills for sure. I am all about.
You're not in on Hinsdale?
It's a tough one, guys. It's a tough one. Every time you guys bring it up, I'm like,
Yeah, see, let me let you know a little secret, Karen.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's only one person on SRS that really is dying to do Hinsdale again, and you can probably guess it's not me, and it's not the rest of my team. It's Al.
We just have unfinished business there to take care of. We didn't.
He has an unhealthy obsession with Hinsdale. I'm just saying.
Yeah. And every time we message and he goes, oh yeah, okay, so we'll do Wildwood, Hinsdale, and Rolling Hills, and I'm like, I'll do Wildwood and Rolling Hills, but I'll catch up with you guys when you guys are at Hinsdale.
You know where else he wants to go? He wants to go to Hell's Gate Cemetery too. So I don't know what's wrong with him.
Well, I'm not sold on that.
No.
I give him a hard time about it, but
Yeah. So here's a thing. I have never heard of that cemetery.
It's like a notoriously bad place for satanic worship and some really dark stuff. We were at, I guess we were at Mid-South.
Mid-South, yeah.
And we're talking to Bishop Long, and he was telling us about that cemetery and some of the activity there and some of the people that have gone and investigated it. And Al and his unhealthy obsession with the dark wanted to look deeper into that cemetery. I'm just giving Al a hard time.
I couldn't get nobody to go with me though, so it was like an hour from where we were.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mean, ever since the beginning of time that I started to do this with any type of a group, there's always been that, I want to talk about your group a little bit and the dynamics and, you guys have definitely, each person brings something to the table that is needed to have a successfully run paranormal group, which is great. But, when I started out in a group, they had this, there was probably 35 people in it, and there's like maybe a handful that did special response cases, if you know what I mean, the ones that, red flags and, this and that. I always said, I am Casper. That is where I go. That is the world I like. I'm like, I don't want, no red flags, nothing even with a pinkish hue thrown at me. I'm happy with, doing what I do, because there are people out there that can help people that, are dealing with cases that way. So, if we were to ever come across anything like that, I would refer it out. But
yeah, and I think you bring up a very good point there too. This is kind of a pet peeve of mine. We do, and we have for years done a lot of residential work, and that's like a really, to me, is a thing that kind of gets overlooked in the paranormal. People get into this and they get into it for experiences, and they want to have all this stuff happen to them, and then they start putting up ads on Craigslist or whatever, and then somebody calls them in to help them, and they get in over their head, and then they leave these people sometimes with a less tenable situation than they had even to begin with because of inexperience or whatever. So I just wish that more people would have that mindset that you were just talking about, of understanding that, it's one thing to go to a place that, like Wildwood, that rents out the place for activity, for teams to come in. And it's another thing to go in when somebody is experiencing phenomenon that they can't understand. Whether it's paranormal or not, there's always a lot of variables there. But those people are usually at a point where they're desperate for help, and you can make things a lot worse if you're not careful. So that's something that I just wanted to touch on a little bit while we're talking.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 1,000%, which is why, and you talk about desperation, and let's talk about what we brought up last week on the show with that whole ad thing, whether it's something that is true or not true, with that ad. I mean, when somebody is desperate, yes, they will pay $400 for somebody to come in because they, they're, like you said, there's that desperation, and it's really sad, that people can take advantage of, or, because there are some people out there, some groups out there that even, will come in and investigate because they want to capture evidence, not because they're there to help, whereas these people are needing help. And that's another type of thing that I like to kind of promote when we're on the brew, is just to be careful of the people that, they just want to come in and investigate because they want somewhere to investigate and get evidence, but not really help the people that, you're going there to help. So,
absolutely. And that's it. And then to take advantage of people, that's a whole we get lost in the weeds on that one real easy. I watched your show last week, and that was your all's topic, and I totally agree that that's a sad day for anything, whether it be paranormal or anything else. When you just want to prey on somebody who's in a desperate situation, that's awful. If that's in fact what they're doing.
Did they ever get in touch with you? Did you hear from them?
Nope, they've never responded.
I don't think you will either.
Yeah, no. We called. I don't even know how many different types of numbers we called. I was praying somebody answered the phone. I was ready, lay into them. I was so ready. Oh, I was like, I can't believe this. But yeah, no, nobody responded. But
they were probably too busy doing silent EVPs at a funeral somewhere.
I know. All right, so let's get down to talking about SRS and Matt and Al and your team, and how you guys started. Did you guys meet? I want to say this to you because I've been saying it while you're not on there. Thank you for your service and fighting fires and keeping your community safe, and that's a huge A++ 1,000 times in my book.
Well, thank you.
So you're firefighters by day, which is amazing. It's an amazing thing you do, helping people, and then the paranormal investigations and research and all that stuff at night and in your spare time. I do find that people that tend to be in fields where they're helping people find themselves in this field as well, because you're still kind of helping people. It's just in our blood to do that.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
So did you guys meet? Were you guys friends prior to working at the fire department, or did you meet at the fire department? We're like, oh my gosh.
Actually, Al and I have known each other for 25 years now, Al? Pretty close?
25 years, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I moved up from South Florida in 1995 and went to work I worked at one place, a little like an office place, but then I went back I was in the fire department of Florida, and I left briefly when I moved here and went into another line of work. It was in credit and collections, and I hated being in an office and wanted to get back to the fire department. I ended up going to a private fire department on an Army ammunition plant in East Tennessee, and Al was working there, and that's where we first met. And we were friends, became friends then, and been friends ever since. We both got hired on the city fire department, and at the same year, actually.
Yeah, it was about a year apart.
Was it about a year apart?
You got hired a year before I did.
Wow, I didn't realize it was a whole year. I thought it was
July 2000. was when I got hired.
Okay, so it was right out of here.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so we went to the city department together, and we've been working there together ever since. So that's kind of how we met, and then the paranormal part started when I had my first experience was in 2005. And I was a hardcore skeptic. I absolutely didn't believe in any of these things. I didn't throw off on people who did. I just had never experienced anything and thought, well, that's just people think things or feel things or overreact to things, in which that's obviously true sometimes too. But
Sure.
My long story short on that is I was at one of the things I like to do is, and forgive me if I'm a little rambly today, I've had a migraine all day and I'm kind of fuzzy, but I like to relic hunt for Civil War artifacts and things like that. Not on battlefields because that's sacred, but on like private farmland and recover lost artifacts and history.
I would love to do that with you.
Well, we should definitely do it then when you come to Tennessee.
Yeah,
we
when
can
you
talk
come-
about it again.
When you come to Tennessee, we'll do it.
I'm just going to have to book like a week in Tennessee so we can just do whatever. Like, not all paranormal stuff. Like, we could just like moonshine, paranormal, relic hunt. Like,
Absolutely.
We have no shortage of moonshine in Tennessee.
And I have no shortage of places to take you to dig for some relics too. So,
all right, so
but
go
I
ahead.
was
Sorry.
thinking,
Go ahead.
no, that's fine. You've got to get down here. We've got to do that. But
Yeah.
so I was at this farm in Johnson City, which is the next city over, and on this farm, way back in the field, there was an old farmhouse that had been abandoned for decades, and it's in the middle of a cornfield. I mean, it's literally there's like nothing for 10 acres around it, and I got the target, and I went to recover the target, and I felt like somebody was looking at me, and I looked up at the second story window, and I saw an old lady looking back at me. Mm-hmm. And in the time it took my brain to process what I saw, she disappeared. I was convinced that I had been uploaded to fire hall and was just seeing stuff and whatever. But in that moment, I panicked and grabbed my detector and metal detector and ran to my truck because that's what you do when you see a ghost. And I left as quick as I could, and I got the courage to go back there. I used to say the time a few weeks later, and I had another experience. And this time, the sun was setting behind me, and I got another target, and I went to dig it, and a shadow went behind me from my right to my left. I'm not thinking anything ghostly. I'm thinking the farmer or somebody's come up on me, so I get turned around to talk to him, and there's nothing there. So that was my first two real experiences that happened to me that I couldn't explain. And that led to the next year and a half of my life, really researching and looking at theory and looking at all these different things and trying to get answers to what had happened to me. And another guy that used to be a part of our team that helped found the team with me initially, he was also a relic hunter and had experiences at that same location separate from me that we later figured out that we'd had at the same place. So you fast forward a few years of we started the team and we started just, investigating and doing things. Fast forward a couple of years and working with Al one day, find out he's got a fascination with the paranormal, and we invited him to come on a case with us, and he was hooked ever since. So now he can tell you his story.
Yeah, I had never really had any experiences growing up, or but I was also always fascinated by it. I would read any kind of books I could get. And like Matt said, when I found out they were doing it, I was like, man, I'd like to tag along one time. He's like, yeah, sure, come on. So we went to it was a residence, and I seen all the equipment, and we didn't really have any experiences that night, but it just intrigued me. So he asked me if I wanted to join the team, and I did. So that's how I got into it.
So, but Al, correct me if I'm wrong, you never really had, like, growing up, never had experiences?
No.
Or anything? Matt, you never did either. Like, your first experience was when you were out there relic hunting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I never experienced anything. I mean, other people I knew had, and I always felt like, well, I don't know what these people are experiencing, but how come I never experienced anything? Because it's never happened,
Yeah.
Until it did.
Right. Yeah. And it took me a few investigations before I was, I'll say, convinced that there was something,
right?
Something out there that we can't explain. And I've been I've been intrigued ever since. So
Yeah.
but getting back to our team, Kevin and Kevin, you met Kevin at Wildwood.
Yes, Kevin. Yep.
I have been lifelong friends with him. I went to high school with him, and knew he had. We actually joined the volunteer fire department the same day together when we were 17. So, he was a firefighter for a while, and then he got a real job. So, as we went years without seeing each other, and then we reconnected, and he'd always say, "Hey man, check this out, I went to Alcatraz, or I went to the bird cage out in Arizona," or and he'd show me pictures and things. So I was like, "Hey man, won't you come tag along with us and join the team?" So that's how Kevin got
Yeah.
But he's been to a lot of cool places on his own,
Oh, really? Well,
yeah.
Alcatraz I would love to go to, but everybody that I know that has been there has always said like they didn't really feel anything or get anything, but I would love to go because I love history and I love stuff like that. So I would love to always go see Alcatraz, but
and see that, and that's the cool thing that you just mentioned right there is the history. That's the thing that I love the most. Even when we don't have quote unquote paranormal experiences, just getting to share that history and be in those places and experience the living mark of the energy of that place, regardless of activity, is to me really something special. And I always enjoy that every time we get to go to a new place, especially if it's got historical relevance.
Well, if you think about it, without history, we wouldn't have this field, we have to have this profound respect for the history, the buildings we go in, the places we're at, because if it wasn't for these places, if it wasn't for these events, if it wasn't for, I'll say, because I always bring it up, Gettysburg, we wouldn't have a paranormal field because we wouldn't
That's
have,
true.
So, the people that are in it for the right reasons respect that and love that. And no matter what, no matter where you're at, whether you're going to get an EVP or a picture or you're not, you still love where you're at. You still love the building you're in. You respect it and appreciate it,
Yeah, absolutely.
So you want to tell them about how Rhonda and Keita
so back last May, we were Kevin, Alan, myself, and we've been investigating for a few years together and doing a lot of different projects and different things, and we felt like there was an element kind of missing in SRS. And what we have learned, and we now see that very, very clearly, is that having that different dynamic, and I don't just mean interpersonal dynamics, I think everybody has their strong suit or their specialty, but even male and female energy.
Right.
Going into a location and having just male investigators or just female investigators can sometimes generate totally different things. Totally different activity because of that. Sometimes things, spirits, entities, whatever label you want to use, depending on where you are and what the activity is, sometimes interact differently with men versus women, or the energy that they particularly bring. So we felt like we needed to expand on that a little bit and get some more of that other energy to kind of balance out the team a little bit. We had also been working through the Nickerson Sneed with Rhonda quite a bit, and Nikita. And we were doing some different experiments where we were doing some of the old Victorian style methods and some of the psychic stuff, and then validating that with our equipment, or trying to validate and cross-validate those experiences. Mm-hmm. So the opportunity came to expand the team and kind of go in another direction. So we brought them on board as our lead psychic medium and as a psychic medium, and they're also investigators. So they're also learning the investigative side and teaching us things about some of the old school methods that were used, back during the spiritualist movement. And we have a combination of those things. And during that time, we were also doing a lot of public events, and which we'll talk about that in a second, how we do those. But we were doing a lot of that stuff too, and we came in contact with somebody that had been going to a lot of our events, and she seemed very interested and eager to learn. So we offered her the opportunity to be an investigator in training with us so that we could show her the paranormal and how we do things. And now she's a full-time member of our team. And also one of the guys' wives is also big into it, and she had been on a team in Florida, and we brought her on board. That's Christina. She actually has a background in photography. She's a photographic analysis expert.
Which is amazing, which is awesome. You know?
Yeah, and she's really good at it. She actually did that work for TAPS out of Florida. She was one of the people that was sent photos from there to review them. And we get photos now from all over the country that she looks at. She breaks them down and she gives people her opinions on them. Now, I will say this. We do not charge for that service. We do that to help people that have serious questions.
Right.
Just wanted to throw that out.
Yeah.
So here, let's pretend I'm a homeowner. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need help. What's your process with a private case? Like, do you have, like, we do a questionnaire. We send a questionnaire. We have them answer questions, and then we talk on the phone. Then we do a prelim, and then, you know what I mean? So, like, what is your, is it just you go out and you talk to them and go from there?
Usually Al, as the case manager, Al will make initial contact with them and find out kind of what's happening, what the activity is, get the basic questions down, the basic stuff like, how do you live at the house, the ages of the people, what type of activity, all those different basic questions. Then we'll do two things. The next thing we'll do is we'll start looking at where the house is, and our historian, who actually went to school to be a historian. He's also a firefighter with us, so he wears many hats, but he's an actual true went-to-college historian. He'll start doing historical research on the property to see if there's any relevant information that might come up on the property itself or the area. Then we actually go in and meet with the client, and we'll do a walkthrough. We'll take some meter readings. We'll look for any type of electrical anomalies, anything that could be causing what they're experiencing, normal explanations for it. We'll do an in-depth interview. We get into the hard questions: drug abuse, alcohol abuse, mental illness. Are there other things going on? Because those things all could be factors.
Absolutely.
So we get into those hard questions. And then, of course, we assure them that, look, this is confidential. It's between you and us. We're not going to put this stuff on our Facebook. We're not going to put it on our social media. We're not going to release these videos if we capture anything. And we have confidentiality agreements between us and the client because that's important. And then after that, we will bring Rhonda and Nikita in. They'll do a psychic reading and see if we can get anything off of that that can help us. And then if we determine based on all of that it warrants an actual investigation, then we'll set up a time to come in and do the investigation. Then we'll analyze everything we get. Then we'll meet with them. We'll give them our best assessment of what we think it is and what they think is going on, whether it's explainable or non-explainable. And then we'll give them some solutions if we think it is something that needs solutions. And if it's something that we can't handle, we'll refer them to people that can.
That's awesome. Yeah, we just, and like a lot of times, actually,
like your cats.
Yeah. I know. They're nosy little buggers, right? They don't leave me alone ever. They're just right.
And they stare at you all the time too, don't they?
Yeah, I know. They're weird, but I love them. So like we've had, like I said, we send out, like, it's literally a 52 questionnaire. We email, we have them fill it out, then we'll call, talk to them, and set up something where we'll go out and we go over the questionnaire again. We like to walk around the house, basically do what you guys do. We check for any abnormal spikes and use EMF meter, and stuff like that, and then we try to give them, depending on the activity and how bad it is to them, how scared they are, who's involved with kids. We try to just give them things to set boundaries, to work on, to
Absolutely.
And then it's like, okay, let's try this. If they still want us to come out and do an investigation, we do.
Exactly.
But luckily, knock on wood, the things that the tools and the education that we have given people who watch shows and are so deathly afraid of what's happening in their house. But we come out there and we give them the tools and we give them, and surprisingly, they're like, no, you know what, we're okay. Like, we know that it's, you know, this, and we can handle this now. You know, if it gets out of control, they know where to find us, you know?
Exactly. That's why I said if warrants an investigation,
Right.
and a lot of times it don't.
It doesn't, right. I do have a little confession, though, before we move on. And this is the only other person that has ever known this was Rob. Because I just learned about 3 or 4 years ago, so embarrassing, what relic hunting meant. So you go to Gettysburg, and I'm driving, and I see no relic hunting. Well, my head, I'm like, I wonder what kind of bird a relic is. Like, I'm thinking it's like,
What animal is this that they're hunting?
I thought it was like some type of an animal or some type, like it meant like it was another word for like you're not allowed to hunt animals in the park. So for this whole time, I'm always thinking like no relic hunting was animals. And then I said that, I was like, you know, and he said, what? No, it's artifacts. Relics are artifacts.
Yeah, it's stuff buried in the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as a relic hunter, I mean, I'm really glad that battlefields and places like that, they protect that stuff. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, I go on private farmland with permission from farmers. That land's getting plowed anyway. The historical context is shot anyhow. You know, or they built stuff on top of it and everything else. So, as a relic hunter, I'm really glad to see that they preserve those places, and that stuff shouldn't be disturbed at those places.
Yeah, I'd hate to think what the penalty would be if you got caught with a metal detector on Gettysburg.
Yeah.
I don't know. But you know what? I mean, I was just going to ask you, like being a relic hunter, there's absolutely no way that they have found everything. As much fighting and as much went on there.
Oh, gosh, no.
I can't imagine. So my head, I'm like, are there rangers like? Because in Gettysburg, I'm so comfortable. I will walk in the woods and just keep going, and then find myself. I don't even know where I'll end up, but I just keep going. I'm like, there's no rangers ever going to see me back here with a metal detector. I would never do it. Disclaimer: I would never do it. But the thought does cross your mind, like, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, and then if you found something, I know myself, I wouldn't be able to keep it anyway. So I totally tell on myself. I'd be like, okay, look, this is what I was doing. I found this. Here it is. Put it in like a museum or something. You know, like I would totally tell on myself.
With a little sign there with your picture next to it, with your mugshot where they put you in prison.
At least it would be Gettysburg.
You're going to go to jail, go big, right?
Right. So besides us trying to coordinate something to do together, what events do you guys have coming up?
Do you want to answer that, or you want me to?
I'll do Expo if you want to do the other stuff.
Okay.
Do the short list first, and I'll do the biggie.
Yeah, so as you know, we like to do these publics and help raise money for these historical sites. So we've had Tipton Haynes. We've done it, 20 times. About 20 times over the last couple of years. Last year we got into a place called the Deary Inn in Blounteville, Tennessee, which is my hometown. Got a lot of history. It dates back to the pre-Civil War.
1795.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
4 presidents stayed there.
It's 4 presidents and some dignitaries from France and
Marquis de Lafayette. George
and,
Washington's general.
Yeah, and there's actually a picture of Jimmy Carter signing the front door.
Oh wow!
So that's pretty cool.
Wow.
So that's a lot of history, and was a stop from Bristol, Virginia, Abingdon, Virginia, down to Kingsport as the great stage of Tennessee?
Pretty much. If you went from Washington, D.C. to modern-day Nashville, that was pretty much the only route you could take. And between Abington, Virginia, and about Knoxville, Tennessee, there was only 4 stops. Now, back then on the stagecoach, that's a pretty long haul. I mean, you're talking probably 200 and some miles, 250 miles.
Yeah.
So, and it was pretty rugged terrain, through the mountains there. So that was like it. You had to stop there. I mean, that was a definite place you had to stop along that route.
Right.
But the cool thing about these places, I'll just interrupt Al for a minute, and he's going to hit me here for doing it. That's all right. These sites that we're getting to do now are because of the reputation that we built as a team.
Yeah.
These are historic sites. It is the State Historic Society or the local historic societies that are inviting us to come in and do this and answer questions to what they have going on. And then if we think there's enough activity to warrant bringing the public in and sharing it, we do. And the cool thing about that is these are exclusive places that we're doing. These are places that not everybody has gotten to do or gets to do. It's the reputation that we've established that's allowing that to happen for us.
That's awesome.
And that's expanding.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
we tried for years to get into the Deary Inn, and they wasn't having it until they kind of found out how well we were doing with the Tipton Haynes and raising money for them. So they actually invited us to come.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
And we don't have them secured yet, but there's 2 more locations we're looking at, possibly up to 5 that are interested in maybe having us come out and
That are state historic sites.
do investigations to help raise money for their places as well. So
See, and that's the thing. You guys really are, you guys are genuine, first of all. Above anything else, you're honest, genuine. You're doing it for the right reasons to help the historical sites or to help people, and that energy gets out there. The word gets out there. You guys, you have a solid team. There's, you have people on there that from every aspect of what you need, to have a successful investigation, and, whether or not a business is looking at, it's great that they're reaching out, especially the historical sites, like the Tipton Hayes house, obviously, a lot of people don't realize how much money it takes to upkeep those historical houses, you know what I mean? So
right.
any help that they can get, so it's good the more that
and we think it's kind of a win too for a lot of reasons. I mean, it's good for us too because it gives us exposure, and
right.
We'd be lying if we said we didn't enjoy that exposure.
Right.
And it does help us to keep up with insurance and the things that we need to keep up with. But the big thing it does is that it brings a new set of people into those historical sites that may never have visited those sites because
right.
they're interested in the paranormal and they're getting to do what they're interested in and learn what we think is a good way of doing it and a proper way to do it. And they are also getting exposed to a place that they may never have seen otherwise. Right. And for example, at the Tipton Haynes, they actually last year, we made more money for them with our events there than they made by far in the entire year with their regular tours on a daily basis. And we were only in there, a few nights each month.
Tipton Haynes or Deary?
Tipton Haynes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, Deary too.
Deary
also.
Yeah.
By far.
We raised, as much as their budget is for the year. So
we were able to give them that extra money. And that's a huge thing. So we're really proud of that. But the other big event that we want to talk about, if we've got a few minutes to talk about it, is the Hexpo.
Yes.
So like Expo, but with an H, the Hexpo. You can check that out, thehexpo.com. It's also linked from SRSParanormal.com. But what the Hexpo is like, the Mid-South, the Scarefest, the big para conventions, horror, but we're taking horror, paranormal, and the metaphysical, and we're combining it into 1-2-day event, and it is at the Harris, what'd they change the name to?
Cherokee Convention Center.
That's what they changed it to. It used to be the U.S. Cellular Center down there, and they just changed it on December 31st, so I'm still getting used to the new name. But yeah, we're going to have some A-list paranormal people there. We're going to have some horror folks there. We're going to have about 70 vendors. We've got a bunch of other stuff. But Chip Coffee is coming from Kindred Spirits. He's also doing the gallery reading there, which is an add-on.
And this is your guys' event. This is
yes.
Totally SRS.
It is ours.
Yeah.
We are hosting it, building it, and doing it. It is.
So happy for you guys. You have no idea.
We've got Amy Bruni coming.
Amy Bruni, yeah.
We've got Michael Nicolosi, who is the voice of the clown in the animated Spawn series on the horror side. J. Patrick Miller from Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive. A couple of the zombies from Walking Dead.
Walking Dead zombies are coming.
Joe Chin, original Ghost Hunters, will be there.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we're building a huge event, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Going to have a big VIP party where all the celebrities will be there for that, and we'll have a live band performing for it.
Right.
What else is going on with that?
Well, we haven't got it solidified yet, but we're trying to work out a celebrity ghost hunt with Joe Chin.
Oh, well, that would be cool.
Yeah,
And us. Yeah.
and us. So
So you said it's in North Carolina.
Yep,
Asheville, North Carolina.
So I just have to ask, like, so why not Tennessee? Why North Carolina?
Well, Asheville, where we live in Tennessee, we live in Northeast Tennessee, so we're like literally like right over the line in Tennessee. Asheville is just a really cool town. It's there's a lot of crystal shops. There's a lot of metaphysical stuff. There's a lot of paranormal history there. It's just it's a cool town. It's got a cool vibe to it. Yeah. And it's a little more built up than the area of Tennessee that we live in. So the next closest to us would be Knoxville. That would be the same size as Asheville, and Knoxville's a little further away. Mm-hmm. So Asheville just is the right feel. It just feels like the right spot for us to do this with a large enough convention center to handle 3,000 to 5,000 people.
Right.
Yeah, and hopefully the plan is not just to limit to Asheville, to have it in other locations as well. So.
New Jersey,
yeah. Philadelphia, wherever.
What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something earlier. Now I forget. That's my ADD.
So, I hope everybody will go to thehexpo.com or SRS Paranormal and check it out, because we think it's going to be a huge event. We
know it's going to be.
We know, yeah.
We're positive today.
One of the things that led up to us, thinking about doing this is, and not to throw off, but we went to a convention. I won't mention the name of it, but it was in Kentucky, and there was nobody there, and we was like, we could do this so much better,
right?
And I'm not throwing off on the event, but it wasn't their fault. Well, I mean, I won't say it wasn't their fault that people didn't come, but they just didn't have a large draw,
And we thought it'd be cool to not just do just power and horror like most do. We wanted to where our team does the metaphysical side too, we wanted to bring that component in. We wanted to bring the psychics in and that side of the coin. So
absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think we're all part of the same team. You know what I mean? I just think like Beth's a medium. You know what I mean? But she's also an investigator.
Exactly.
So Sabrina, I mean, she's really good with the bowls and she's like, touching in on her, psychic medium side too. You know what I mean? Me, I'm just an investigator. I go in, I have experiences, I don't have experiences. I see things or I don't. I hear things. Technically, a lot of times I just hear things. But we all have our own thing, but it's all one.
But let me ask you a question on that while you're on that.
Yeah.
Where you've been an investigator for a long time, mm-hmm. and you've worked with and without the mediums and that side. I really honestly think that having that side enhances the experiences and the investigations, because at least we found that if we are getting an idea of who we might or what we might be communicating with, we can go down a new line of questioning that sometimes leads to
Absolutely.
answers.
Absolutely.
So I think having that extra element really does enhance the investigations. And what's your thoughts? I'm playing interviewer now.
You're asking me? What about?
Yeah,
Like
I'm asking you your thoughts. I'm playing interviewer now.
about being able to hear.
Yeah, well, no, just about what your thoughts are. If you think adding the psychics and that things, having done it both ways, how it enhances things.
Oh, absolutely. Because I do think that people that have those gifts and talents, their energy is on a different level than us, and I think that their energy is a lot easier for whatever energy is in a location or in a spot or whatever, for it to connect, and to be able to relate and communicate in whichever way they feel they can communicate, whether that be through pictures in the mind, or or feelings or whatever. I think that having mediums and psychics and people that have special gifts like that, I think that they're a huge asset to an investigation or a team, for sure. Just as much as having a skeptic.
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like having a skeptic on a team is a huge asset, because all of your team's going
in there. Yeah, all the stuff is balanced.
You have to have a balance, right? I hope I answered that right. Did I answer that right?
Nah, you did good. I just wanted to turn the tables and throw a question at you.
No, I love it. And even when we did Wildwood, when we did that seance in the beginning, that was amazing.
It was. That was really.
Well, I actually had a really cool experience with that. I don't know if you remember when my dad came through, and that was the first time that that had happened to me in all these years. And now seances is a part of our regular routine. I mean, we start almost every investigation with seances.
See, and that was the first time that I've ever been a part of. Normally we don't start an investigation with a seance, but we did then, and that was it totally put that investigation on a different level, and
it energized it sort of.
Yeah, it did, and it was great. Even though the connections were coming through her family, but that's Beth. Beth brings in people's family members, and you know what I mean. But that's a good thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. But it definitely enhanced the investigation. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was awesome. Another thing that I love about, things with you guys for sure, doing the Tipton Hayes and all the historical sites, I'm hoping, because there's a lot of, I don't know around there, but around here, the paranormal and the historical sites sometimes tend to look at it as taboo,
Yes.
They don't realize, okay, look, we want to investigate, but we can help raise money. So I feel like the more that these events are advertised and they see how well that these things do, I feel like the more of the historical societies and the historical places would be more open to having us come in.
And that's exactly what's happened to us, because some of these places we tried to get access to, and it was no, we don't do that here.
Right.
And now these places are calling us in because of that exposure, and that's one of the reasons why. And I know you see them because you're on there all the time when we do it. We go live a lot. We go live a lot during our public investigations.
Yeah.
Because we want to share that with other teams and other people, and you're seeing it as it happens when we're live. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So it's happening in real time.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing that I like to do when we're doing investigations. I like to go live. I like to share. I want people to experience, because you get the questions like, oh, well, when that happened, was this like this or was that like that? Well, here, it's live. We're not hiding anything. We're not faking anything. We're not, this is what's happening.
It's genuine.
Yeah. And I like to have the audience a part of it. Like, they may see something that we don't. They may hear something
Exactly.
that we don't.
Yes. How many times does that happen? That happens to us quite often. Somebody will say, well, I heard this. And we'll go back and check that video after the fact and be like, man, we missed that in real time. But yeah, that absolutely was there, and we missed it.
Right. Yeah. Wow. So you just said that. I don't know why this made me think of it, but when we were in the basement at Wildwood and we were sitting there and right next to, was it Al or was it, who was sitting down? And it was like that moan or that groan. And we,
oh, yeah, that was all.
I think it happened behind Mike and Rhonda.
It did. Yeah, they were standing on the left side.
Yeah.
And wow, that was just like, we were like, whoa, there was no, and that was live. That was live.
Yeah.
And there was no, somebody wrote on here earlier, oh, these are the guys that you were with when you were in the tub.
Yeah.
And there's people going, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you were in the tub.
Yeah.
All right, so were there any other? You said that you had the Hexpo coming up, but was there?
Right. Yeah, there's a couple other. We're taking a road trip in March. We have been invited back to. We're going back to prison.
Yep. Back to Brushy.
We're going back to Brushy at the request of End of the Line Paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
They've had some activity ramp up down there that they need some help trying to figure out what's going on, and they graciously offered us to come back. So we're going to do that.
Is that in Tennessee? That's in Tennessee?
Yeah, it's in a little town called
Petros.
Petros. I always say it wrong, and I get corrected by
It's near Oak Ridge.
Near Oak Ridge. It's about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from us. So Brushy Mountain, if you ever come down, we'll try to go there because it
is one of the most active places that we have ever been to.
Really?
And as you know, we've been all over the country. We've been blessed to go to some amazing places. Over 2,000 deaths in those walls.
Wow.
From disease, from abuse, from all kinds, prisoners killing prisoners, prisoners killing guards.
Cave-ins.
Yeah, that's it right there. Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary. Sure thing.
Was that who's who? Remember we were on last week and somebody had brought up. I thought they were saying Brushy something. I didn't know if it was
Brushy Mountain. Yeah,
Brushy Mountain.
The end of the line, Alcatraz of the South. It's got several nicknames.
Okay, yeah.
It's a very, very ominous place.
And I'll give a shout out to Jamie Brock too with End of the Line Paranormal. That's the team that runs the stuff there that's invited us down. We've worked with them. They've come to Nickerson Sneed, which is our home haunt. They've investigated it with us. They're a great group, too. They might be ones you might want to have on one night and talk to about.
Yeah, absolutely.
They would be great guests for you all.
Yeah.
I think you would love them. You'd like their energy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We love everybody. We're like, we're in our own little paranormal bubble.
Yeah.
So.
And then the next night, after we finish that, we're going to go shoot over to a little place called Hale's Dam.
Hale's Bar and Dam,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
it's been on Ghost Adventures and a few others.
Kindred Spirits done it. It's an old dam in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Without giving too much away, it's well, I don't even want to say that. I don't want to say nothing in case Rhonda and Nikita.
That's one thing with our psychics too, and Al brings up a good point. They like it this way, and we like it this way too. We get the history and the facts and the activity. They don't know anything.
Right.
They go into locations blind. Nothing. They want to read it and get it and validate what they get. So we are very careful when we do interviews or things, if we got stuff coming up, that we don't give away anything that might jade their ability to read.
But I think anybody that's familiar with Hell's Bar Dam
probably already knows
what we're talking about. So
yeah. So are you going to be going live at these events?
If we have internet, yes.
Yeah.
If not, we'll probably we film them and then post them after the fact.
Okay. Sweet.
So, other than that, May 1st and 2nd, May 1st, me and Matt are working, but the women of SRS, which is Rhonda, Nikita, Michelle, and Christina, are going to do, what's it called they're doing?
They're doing the spiritualist investigation.
Yeah, well, I thought there was a name for it.
What?
Is there not a name for it?
Ladies' night?
The ladies' night, I get. Well, but anyway.
The ladies of SRS?
The ladies of SRS will be conducting their own investigation at the Nickerson Sneed House in Glade Springs. Yeah. And then,
they're going to go live.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they better go live.
Yep.
They expect us to go live, so.
That's
and then
awesome.
the next night, the whole team will be together again at the Nickerson Sneed.
Right.
We'll be doing
I would love to.
a public fair.
I would love to come out there for that.
Oh, yeah.
And when you get down here to Tennessee, we're going to go. We're going to try to get you into Brushy. We definitely can get you into Deary and Tipton Haynes and the Nickerson Sneed. I have no doubt we can do those.
We've got
plenty of. We got a few others
places.
working on too. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a paranormal hangover for 2 weeks.
Well,
and it'll give you the moonshot too.
It'll be worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I just, all I keep saying is it's going to come down to me but I'm going to be like, you know what? I'm just coming by myself. And, you guys are just going to have to put up with me. Because
you're always welcome.
Yeah, Rebecca commented on there, I hate knowing anything about a location before I visit. Well, I'm the total opposite. I will research the crap out of a place before I go.
Yeah.
Like, when we went to Hinsdale, I'd read the book.
See, there it is again.
And
what?
it's just one example, but I read the book that Clara Dandy wrote. I watched everything I could to see what kind of activity that they had. Rhonda and Nikita didn't want to know anything. They didn't want to know nothing about the place.
I think if I wouldn't have been told over and over again by all my friends that have gone there and said, yeah, that's not a good place, I probably blindly would have went and yeah, Hinsdale, woo.
Yeah, well, the thing about Hinsdale is, how you're like, I don't know, for instance, your Selma mansion. If you get creeped out in the mansion, you can go outside, right?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Well,
no, Hinsdale.
Outside at Hinsdale is scarier than the inside.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
It's bad. It makes you want to go back inside.
Yeah.
I think it's part of it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's dark. It's
a farmhouse.
I mean dark, not in dark bad.
It's
like
there's
dark.
no
we live in
light.
the sticks in East Tennessee, and it is dark there. I mean, dark, not bad dark, but
right.
I mean it's dark too, but it's real dark.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, when we were at Wildwood, we drove in the parking lot around the dirt circle, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. We can go now. I saw it. I can say I've been there.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. It's a seriously dark location, literally and figuratively.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
So my friend Megan, she's with Neppy. The people that put on the phenomenology and everything.
Yeah.
So she planned this big, huge paranormal trip for a bunch of people last year, and as things happen, people drop out and, this and that. Well, their first night was at Hinsdale for 2 nights, right? But their first location was Hinsdale. This girl spends the night by herself at Hinsdale Friday
What?
night. Yes. I said, I will never. I said, you have the balls of. I don't even know. I'm like you.
She needs a wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
Oh my God. She went live. She investigated, but she was by herself overnight at Hinsdale for a Friday.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. And the caretaker at Wildwood, he would stay the night up there by himself too. Because
you know how normal he was.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was insane. That was really crazy.
I still want to know which one of you all was running a marathon upstairs at Wildwood, because somebody had a track meet up there.
Yeah, none of us. Well, and it's weird because Mike was recording, while we were sleeping, and he got some whispers. He got a little chuckling laugh, but nobody running.
Yeah, we were like, who's running upstairs? I mean, it was loud. It sounded like a child, though.
Yeah.
So all that we've got coming up, and there's a bunch more, but it's later in the year. Our calendar's crazy this year, which I'm not complaining. I'm thankful it is. What do you guys got coming up?
Yeah.
So April 4th, we're doing, ours are little things. So we're doing April 4th, I think we're doing a fundraiser for a VFW. The grounds are, and the place, they say they have issues. They have, haunting, things happening there and stuff. So we're going to do like a small little investigation there, open to the public. Also, it's called Paul's Discovery Farm, PAWS. It was a hidden gem in New Jersey because there's not a lot of good places in Jersey. We usually have to travel 2 hours plus to go anywhere cool to investigate. However, we found Beth found this Paul's Discovery Farm in Mount Laurel, literally 20 minutes from our houses. It dates back to 1704.
Oh wow!
Farmhouse. Summer kitchen outside. This and that. I mean, amazing. We were the first ones to get in there and investigate. So that's like going to hopefully be our little home base. So we're working on another public investigation for there. Phenomenology we'll be at the end of March. And then Selma in September. And hoping somewhere in there, SRS and Paranormal Brew can figure something to do together.
Yes, we've got to. We've got to do it this year. Yeah. I really think we should commit to at least once a year getting together and doing something somewhere, but that's just me.
There's 365 days in a year. We can't we just need to just, hi Bill, we need to just, it sucks that those 2 weekends in September, are just, I'm so disappointed because I thought the 13th, but then I'm like, oh shit, we're going to North Carolina or South Carolina on the 13th, So, we have to think of something.
Well, we'll figure it out.
We got it.
Like you said, there's 365 days in this year, so there's got to be something we can make work. So we'll do this. We've got 11 or 12 people as our witnesses. We're going to make a commitment that we're going to join forces here at some point in time this year and make this happen.
Yeah.
So now all these people can hold us accountable because they're watching it.
So did you see how I captioned this thing? It said SRS Paranormal Brew. Just all one sentence.
I didn't catch that. Cool.
SRS Paranormal Brew. That we have to get together again because literally that was probably one of the best collaborations that I've ever been a part of for sure.
Well, that's we agree absolutely. I saw one of your persons had one of the people. I can't read this far away because my eyes suck. What name is that, Al?
Dominique.
What do you think about reenactments? Do they mean reenactments as in Civil War reenactments or reenacting during paranormal investigations to get activity? Because that's something we've done before too. Mm-hmm. What are they talking about?
Yeah, Dom, what do you mean? What about the reenactments? You mean about the in Gettysburg when they do that? Or me when I'm investigating?
Because we role play. We do paranormal role play.
Yeah.
We experiment with that, and it works sometimes.
Yeah, I do too. I think, was it you guys that posted the question? And I said about provoking? Was it you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And I literally have been on the fields in Gettysburg and playing that Civil War, the music and the, to get something going. To me, that's a healthy provoke.
Well, see, I don't think that, to me, that's not provocation. To me, that's more like just trying to stir up some activity.
Right.
That's not the same as provoking. To me, is when you're being negative or mean or.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't walk in a Target and you start screaming at people. So why am I going to scream at spirits? I mean, that's just silly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
To me, there's a difference there.
Right.
What you're talking about with the music, I mean, that's like the Singapore method, where you take music from a series of, different decades, and you string it together, and you kind of see what sticks in a place. We've done that before too.
Yeah, and surprisingly, it's worked a couple of times where it started to, especially if you're like in a room where it's like, oh, this used to be the ballroom, so you just start playing like ballroom music, and you're like, anybody want to dance? It's like stuff like that. And I agree, provoke is the wrong word for that. Because automatically provoke has this like bad stigma to it. People think it's, Zach Baggins and, you want me, come and get me and all this other stuff.
Exactly.
Is bad.
Challenging them to do parlor tricks and stuff. That's not cool,
Yeah, somebody said.
Yeah. And I also think sometimes people confuse setting boundaries. I mean, if activity starts going sideways, I'll get stern and say, you are not welcome to do this, and you need to stop that. That to me isn't provoking. That's setting those boundaries of, look, that's not your behavior on your end is not acceptable. So that's a little different than poking, I think.
Rebecca says she looks at it as spiritual bullying, which
that's a good way to say it.
Yeah.
I've never heard that. That's a great way to say it. I may steal that. I hope you don't mind, Rebecca.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great term, because I've never heard that either. I think that's awesome. And that's what it is. It's spiritual bullying, whether...
And that's a great way to remember it, too, because bullying is never acceptable. So
Right. And that's... Yeah. And then you got to be careful what you wish for, because you want to challenge something you can't see and you don't know what's there. You better be prepared for what's coming,
Yep.
That's the other thing that people don't realize.
That's like going to a biker bar and kicking over all the Harleys in the parking lot and asking which sissy's riding it.
Right.
Bad idea.
Yeah, you don't do that. Yeah. She said you can use it.
Go for it. Thank you.
But that was a good analogy, what you said, about the bikers. I mean, it's so true. And that's the thing. That's what started me wanting to do the brew. All the shows that were coming out. And I used to not mention them, but I don't care anymore. Like Dead Files and Ghost Adventures, Dead Files to me is like, at the end, they leave these people crying and fearing for their lives. And they're like, okay, bye, see you later. It's like, like,
get you a shaman or whatever she always says.
Yeah.
She finds demons everywhere she goes.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Oh, my gosh.
I mean, there's a lot of demons, apparently. I mean, a lot more than I've ever seen in 15 years, but to each their own.
Yeah. Let me see. Somebody's commenting. That's bad. Yeah. He said, just like when I have two little girls, Samantha and Sybil, that follow me around, and we talk to each other a lot. I smoke cigarettes sometimes, and the wife always says that's not good. One day the girls tell me when I lit one, that's bad for you.
Oh, wow.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So that's good. So did we? I feel like our talk went by a lot quicker than what I thought. Like we literally have been on for an hour. It doesn't seem like we've been on that long. I would like to go to Gettysburg with you guys for sure.
Yeah, that's on my list. I've been there, but not been there to do any of the paranormal side of things. I just briefly got to visit for a couple hours this past year for the first time.
And was it not amazing? Even for those couple of hours?
It was not enough time to even begin to enjoy it. Yeah. I mean, I would like to just really spend some time just really connecting with that place. The energy there is incredible.
It's incredible. It really is. And there's no other place like it, and I'm telling you, there is no twist in my arm. I know that place better than I know the town I grew up in, and I go there by myself. You know, before I went for a week last summer, I went by myself for a week just to be there. So whenever you guys want to try to,
I think what you're saying is anytime we're going to Gettysburg, if you can make it, you're going to be there. Is that what I heard?
Anytime you guys are going to Gettysburg, I'm making it.
So we I don't know. Have you been to the fire academy up there?
Yes, once.
Yeah,
but that was long before.
There's a little town called Emmitsburg, Maryland, that's 10 miles away from Gettysburg, and that's where the National Fire Academy is. And I've got to go up there a couple of times, and I'll always go up and visit Gettysburg, and just drive around the battlefields. And it's just the reverence of the place is cool. I mean,
it's got a unique feeling. I've been to a lot of battlefields, but Gettysburg is by far a different energy.
It is. And no matter, I've been going since 2007. I go every year, probably no less than 10 times a year. And I drive around the park every time. I do my sunset at Little Round Top. Like, I have my things that I do all the time, but I'm always learning something new every time I go. And I've never gotten bored, ever. I mean, the ride through the park, it amazes me just as the first day I ever saw it. So there is a different energy there for sure.
Yeah.
Rebecca was saying, I guess back what we were just talking about with the shows and everything. She said that this is why she really wants to see a paranormal blacklist to weed out the ones that are bullies, liars, thieves, historical data evidence faking. Which, how do you prove? You know what I mean? Like, there would have to be. I mean, like, that's a great idea. I agree with it, but that would be a hard thing to create. And I guess my thing is, as much as I totally agree at the root of the concept. What you said is exactly right. How do you prove that? But to me, the thing is, I personally like to focus my energy on myself in terms of I know everything that we do and that we put out. We know what it is, and we can back it up, and we stand by everything that we do. So I try really hard to not go down that road a lot with other teams. Here's the thing. If we collaborate with you, it means we like you. Right.
If we don't collaborate with you ever again, there's a reason for that.
Right.
And I just think that I think part of the reason the paranormal has trouble being taken seriously is for two reasons. It's teams like that do the things that she's talking about. And but that's a small segment. I really don't think that's by and large the majority. Some just don't know any better, and they're making mistakes they shouldn't. But I think we spend too much time worrying about, as a community, that, well, my methods are better than your methods, and your method, you don't do this right, we do this right, and you don't. I think we spend too much time doing that. And it's hard for us to be mainstream when we're trying to gut each other too much. So that's why our team tries really, really hard to not do that. We'll call people out if they need to be called out, obviously. Yeah. But we try really hard not to play Monday morning quarterback on other people's stuff. Here's the thing. If you present a piece of evidence, now I'm going to take it at face value because it's you. But even if I didn't know you and I saw your evidence, I can only look at what I see. I wasn't with you when you captured that evidence. I can't speak to the methodology that was used to capture that. So who am I to call you out for that?
Right.
You can do the same every time I presented something. I think we do too much of that in this community, in my opinion. I like to work on a higher energy level and kind of try to rise above that some.
Absolutely. Well said. And that's the thing. Like, I'm so totally out of all the paranormal drama loops. I talk to like friends and this and that, and they're like, "Oh, did you hear?" I'm like, "I don't even know who that is." Like, I'm so out of the paranormal, the wannabe celeb or whatever you want to call it. I'm so out of that loop. I do what I'm like you. Like, I do this for educational purposes and getting like the good people out there so people can hear the good investigators and how they run their things and what they do and what they stand for, because people need to hear more of the positive and less of the negative,
I agree wholeheartedly, and I think it's an opportunity to learn from each other too. I mean, what you're doing with the brew is an opportunity for people to learn. Yeah. If they'll just take the chance to learn it, it's a chance for us to share. And the more we share, the more I think we could grow. And imagine what we could do if we put aside those petty differences and learn from each other. We have never worked with another team that we didn't learn something. Right. And I hope that we left them with something. So to me, that's the whole idea here, is to move this community forward by working together on things and sharing ideologies and theories and methods. And that's what really, I think, will move the paranormal to where it needs to be.
Well, I mean, and we're living proof of that at Wildwood. We never did forgive me, I always say that experiment. What was that experiment you had?
Estes. Yes.
Estes. I always say it wrong. I don't know why. But the Estes experiment, never heard of it. I never saw it done. Normally I probably I probably wouldn't even have tried it with anybody else. But for some reason,
we're awesome. No, I'm just kidding.
You are, but we all connected, right? Like, I felt like I knew you guys, so I trusted that what was happening was I was good, I was safe, and this is cool. I want to try this, something new, and it was awesome, and definitely learned from that for sure.
Yeah, and that's something else that I think that we really try to do, and I think that I think teams should try to do it. People will hear, well, this piece of equipment is no good. Well, try it for yourself. Test it. See, here's the thing. Every piece of equipment, I don't care what it is, and some are good and some aren't. And then I'm not saying that some pieces of equipment aren't junk, because they are. And I think there's a difference. If people are making junk that's just for, like, the apps on the phones, I mean, a lot of that stuff is hokey. But I'm saying, like, actual equipment. Everything has its limitations, okay? I don't care if it's a recorder. I don't care if it's a spirit box. I don't care if it's an SLS camera. I don't care if it's a video recorder. Everything has limits, right? And even investigators have limits. So I know my limits. I know the things I'm not good at, so I don't do them. So I need to do due diligence as an investigator and a researcher to make sure that piece of equipment, I know its limitations. I know its things that are potential problems. And I think we can find the usability of any piece of equipment if we understand how to use it. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, if I'm going to build a house, I can't build it with a hammer. I need a saw, I need a hammer, I need a screwdriver. They're tools. And sometimes we put too much stock in saying, well, that's junk. Well, yeah, it may have some false positives, but it also has some relevance. So we try really hard to do that. And the spirit box is a good example of that. That's a very controversial piece of equipment. And there are things with it that you can or can't use it for. One of the things that people say, and it depends on which theory you subscribe to, is it the white noise or is it the radio snippets? We don't subscribe to radio snippet theory in ghost boxing. We don't at all. We subscribe more to the white noise. Right. And we have plenty of evidence to support what we're saying. Right. That's why we remove the antennas from all of ours and then put them in Faraday cages. That's and we only use FM because the Faraday actually helps us do that. So, there's a lot of different things. So I guess what I'm trying to say, and I kind of got sidetracked, what I'm trying to say is everything has limits, and I think it's your responsibility as a researcher to know those limits so that when you present whatever your anomaly is or your evidence is, you can back that up with your methodology.
Well, and that's, like, I'm going to, double back that. Like, there's a lot of this equipment that's out now that because I'm not an equipment person. Like, I have my recorder, I have my camera, I've never really been this big gadget person. But also I think that if you need to understand how it works. You need to know it inside and out so that when you do get evidence, like you said, like you can say, okay, this is how this works. So this isn't what's supposed to happen when this is happening. This, and then we
Yeah.
Does that make
absolutely.
sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's part of our publics. We start all of our public investigations with what we call Paranormal 101. And that's basically where we lay all of our equipment out. We tell our story, how we got started, our backgrounds, and then we actually go over some of the equipment and how to use it. Then we put equipment in people's hands, and it's their investigation. We just guide them. It's their opportunity to do it with some background. And then we help them, navigate the anomalies from what could be something potentially useful. But and one of the things we always tell people in those publics is, listen, we're not saying our ways are the only way. Right. This is the way that we do things, and this is the way that works for us, that has given us the results. We use dowsing rods a lot. Right. There are some people that will look at you like you were absolutely insane if you bring out a pair of dowsing rods. But I promise you, if you learn how to use dowsing rods and you put your hands on them, you're going to learn you're not able to manipulate them the way that people think you can. Right. And it's a really, and something that we use a lot. And there's a lot of things like that. So I think we just get lost in the weeds sometimes on trying to say that doesn't work or this works. I guess the point is, do what works for you and make sure you know how to do it the right way.
And that's what's so good about having the spiritualist side on our team too, because if we're using an SB7 or we're using recorders and they're not working, we can use another tool, which is the psychic mediums and their tools.
Well, but to touch on that, I guess with both of what you guys are saying, this whole thing is about energy and likes attract likes and this and that. So no matter what you're using, it could be like Matt, you can have a recorder. Al can have a recorder, I can have a recorder, and only one of us is going to pick something up because it just depends on, I feel like it depends on where the energy is at, where it's geared to, who it's, you know what I mean? Like it's...
And who it wants to speak to.
Exactly. So...
And that's another thing that we have learned, sometimes they may not want to talk to Matt or they might want to, so we'll switch it up and, they might want to talk to a female or, right. They usually like to talk to Kevin. He's the spirit whisperer on our team.
Yeah, he's quiet.
He's quiet, but he they like to communicate with him quite a bit.
Yeah, I was one that was very the dowsing rods. I was like, okay. I was a total non-believer. And one day we did a investigation at Red Mill in North Jersey, and I was holding them things, and I don't know how they started moving the way they started moving. It was insane, and I was not moving them. I wasn't even moving my body. I wasn't doing anything, and the way they were moving was.
Oh yeah,
you could feel the energy.
You could feel the energy flow through. I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'll tell you what we've even had happen. We've been using a spirit box, like I said, with the antennas out in Faraday cage, so you don't get you're not getting radio bleed through, you're just getting static. And we've gotten sentences or words or even yeses or nos come through there that happen exactly the same time as getting the same answer on the rods. So now you've got two things actually documenting that. And then in some cases, we might have the EDI, which is changing the pressure, the humidity, all those environmental factors, and be able to pinpoint that exact moment in time and say, this happened on the SB7, happened simultaneously on the rods, and look here, we had this change in environmental data. That to me is really hard to say, okay, that's BS. Well, no, we've got way too much to me to back what we just said.
Especially the environmental data part of it. The data is like a data logger, right? So you're covering the man-made stuff. You're covering what this could be. It's basically like you're ruling out what could be, what somebody could argue could be nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think I can say this as a former hardcore skeptic, and I still have a healthy skepticism. I always look for earthly explanations, and I can say this as a former hardcore skeptic. I think the burden of proof is on the researcher, but the burden of disproof is equally on the skeptic. If you're going to call me out on what I'm doing, then you better be able to prove what you're saying. Otherwise, it's just an opinion. So what I'm saying is, if I have an opinion, you have an opinion. That's the age-old preacher and the atheist talking about the existence of God, right? You're never going to convince the preacher that God doesn't exist, and you're never going to convince the atheist that it doesn't. So I think that burden of proof is in equal balance. It's on both sides.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here's the thing. I've always said this, I'm a healthy skeptic. However, I have more evidence that there is something that does exist than a skeptic has that they don't.
Correct. Yeah.
So, what is it? We don't know. We have theories. We call it, spirits. We call it,
Hey, until we're the ones leaving the EVPs, we ain't gonna know exactly what's going on.
Listen, if I go before any of you guys, I promise you guys, I will give you some like Class A, astounding on TV evidence. You gotta be on TV because of it.
Same here. We promise to do the same thing if we go before you.
Yeah.
We'll give you a message.
One thing I wanted to ask you, Taryn, before we wrap up, I mean, we've got nowhere to go, but I mean, yeah. I'm sure you do. But I wanted you to tell us a little bit about your guys' place that Beth has. That I think I saw that you said it was your favorite location to go to, or.
So the center for the
mind, body, and spirit.
Yes, where Beth works.
Yeah.
So that place is really amazing for one location. So we had an event there, and normally when you have an event, you don't tend to get too much activity. Whether it's because there's so many people. We had 20 people. And we came out with 43 intelligent EVPs. Intelligent.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
One was, we had a recorder near a REM pod, and nobody was in the room. We, because we kind of I had a recorder on every floor, so I knew when people were switching floors. So nobody was on the floor, and the REM pod goes off, and in the recorder you hear, "That was for you."
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just got goosebumps. That's cool.
It was amazing. It's like the stuff we got there was just, I couldn't believe it. I was like, really? Is this real? They're just real. They want to talk. They want to talk. They want to communicate. We'd ask questions, we would get intelligent answers. It was amazing. The building, and now granted, it is for practitioners that do this kind of work. So and the energy in the place is great. So
they do a lot of they do a lot of Reiki
and spiritual healing, and they'll do
totally makes sense why you would have that kind of activity there. I just recently did my first Reiki 1, level 1, so pretty incredible. I can see why you'd have that kind of stuff at a place that focuses on spiritual healing.
Yeah, there was some residual, but for the most part, 43 intelligent EVPs is just unheard of for an event.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I don't know how else to explain it. I mean, it was just great. It was a great play. I don't know if it was just the night that they decided, hey, we're here for the party. Let's party.
Yeah. And back to EVPs, I don't know if Matt will agree with me. I think he
probably not. I never like to agree with that.
Yeah, I think he will to an extent, but some of the best EVPs that we've ever captured have been during walkthroughs.
Yeah,
I do agree with that.
We went to a place in Bristol, and I thought for some reason I would just record our walkthrough before we did our investigation. Which we do as a practice now.
Yeah. Back then we
did. Yeah. And we caught so many EVPs during that walkthrough. It was just off. I mean, it was off the chain
In fact, one of them we were talking about, I can't remember exactly how, two of them were good. I was talking about smoking cigars because I like to smoke cigars. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about that, and it's Al and I talking about cigars, and he was giving me a hard time about cigar smoking. And there's an EVP that says aficionado. I mean, it's clear as a bell. It's a male voice. Then we're talking later about down the road, and we're trying to talk about somewhere.
And it said Severe.
Yeah, it said Sevierville, which is, down towards Gatlinburg. And we were talking about the Gatlinburg area when we got that Class A EVP.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of wild, and we weren't even investigating. It was just we were talking and had a recorder going.
Yeah, and then when we went to the Stewart house, we caught some good ones there. Yep. Matt said, we're going to do a seance. Can we sit in these chairs? And the voice comes through clearly and said yes.
Wow.
So I mean, we
just expect it. I think.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
we listened to it on the way back from the Bristol one, and I was like, let's just listen to this and see, what, and we were just astounded.
Yeah.
We was like, man, did you hear that? And it would be like just a minute more and be like another one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that EVPs to me are probably my most favorite, type of evidence, which is why I'm going to say this, because I was going to ask your opinion. When you're using the SP7s or the spirit boxes, for me, I'm always like, listen, if there's really an EVP, it's going to block it out. That's like my opinion. Like, I'm like, if there's really someone like that's really, you can hear or whispers or whatever the EVP may be, that SP7, that constant, is going to drown
it certainly
it out.
Can. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It certainly can. However, we have had a couple cases where when you analyze it with headphones and you listen, we've had stuff that ends up being EVP, and we thought in real time, we didn't hear it in real time, or we didn't react to it on the box. And when we go back and play the audio back, it didn't come from the box. It was an EVP in the room, and that's why we didn't react to it or didn't hear it. So I think it can, but I think that's why you got to be careful how loud you play it too.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, even with the box, we find that going back and listening to it is much more value than the real time. Because a lot of times in real time, it's not as clear as it is on the playback and headphones. But you're right, you can potentially lose that. That's why we use a mix of things. We divide up into teams, and one team might work on ITC stuff, another team works on EVP, and another team works on spirits, where we combine them and we crisscross all that, and that way we do a little bit of everything.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you guys also use, I know you set up cameras throughout, this.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Which is a good thing, to do, I totally agree with that for sure. And, what was I going to say? In Gettysburg, this, the place that I like to stay, that I think, I've stayed in some of the places that are supposed to be like the most haunted places and, blah, 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 and didn't experience anything. However, that doesn't mean that that's not true, because I'll never put down a place in Gettysburg, but the Inn at Lincoln Square, where I like to stay, the activity there as well, very intelligent. Class A EVP, the best Class A EVP I've ever gotten. It was just me and somebody else, and we were in the room and we're shutting the lights off. We were going to do a little mini investigation, and we're shutting the lights off. I heard something, didn't know what it was. I was like, what was that? And the person was like, what was what? And I'm like, is the TV on? And then, another person was in the room, an accent though, are you trying to sleep? And
wow.
Because we were turning the lights off and stuff. And it's like, are you trying to sleep? Asking, and we didn't hear it. And I'm clairaudient, did not hear it. We went back and I'm listening and I hear this. Are you trying to sleep? And I'm like, holy crap. It was just like, you get that one EVP where you're just like, oh.
Sure. And that's why we do like to leave the little drop cameras, the SJ cameras that we converted for IR, because those things capture great EVPs too. I mean, they do. Very few visual anomalies, most of the evidence we pull off those actually ends up being EVPs.
Right.
And a lot of times Class A EVPs.
Awesome.
And as long as your case manager is doing a good job, which Al does, of knowing who's where. I mean, he does. He really tracks where the teams are and what they're doing, and that's important. And that's another thing. That's how you keep that contamination down. Yeah. Now, in Publix, we don't. When you got 20 people, we don't.
Hard.
That's a different story. But when we're doing a real, our own investigation, we really try to focus on minimizing that contamination.
Yeah, it's hard when you're doing a public event, but I have to say there is a difference between a human whisper and an EVP whisper.
Yes.
I really think that it just
the tonality's different.
Yeah, it almost sounds hollow. Whereas a human whisper, is you can and that's a person, but it just sounds different, and So I hate when people are, but again, you got to take into consideration, you're at an event, so it's hard, even though
and that's what's hard when you got a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that. That's where you can get into, spectral analysis and looking at it, and we do that some too. You look at, does it match human informant, and what range of frequency is it being picked up on? So
right.
Those are things you can do to validate those.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I really hate to. I could keep talking. I'm having fun. I really could.
Well, it's been great being on, and we really appreciate you having us.
I'm sorry the rest of my team couldn't make it, and I'm sorry we couldn't split screen. But as I said earlier, Kenny Biddle was trying to kind of help me. He sent me this link for this thing, but you can only do it on the laptop. So I'm going to play with that this week, and hopefully, you guys will be available to come on again, and then we can bring
anytime. We really enjoyed
you on
it.
that way. And
we'll get the ladies of SRS to come on, unless you talk
that
to
would be
them.
great to have the whole team. Yeah, that would be great.
And see, we got to see you, so we got the better end of the deal.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
You didn't have to look at our ugly mugs. So.
Oh, stop it. No,
But hey, we'll definitely get together. We'll definitely figure something out this year. And at some point in time, you've got to get down here because we've got a lot of stuff we got to show you down in our neck of the woods. And we got to come to New Jersey at some point because I think New Jersey needs a dose of us Southerners.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys would be shocked. Just but we definitely do need some Southern charm up here for sure. But yeah, no, I think the way it's looking is I'm going to be coming to Tennessee before anything else is happening because that seriously is been on my bucket list to come down there and hang out with you guys and do whatever. Just have to find the time and get the time off of work, all life stuff. Why can't I just win the lottery and just do whatever I want to do?
Do this full time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But now we've enjoyed talking to you. We always share your content. We'll continue to, of course, push your stuff out. We always try to do that. And you guys got a link on our website. We always tell people about you. So we'll definitely share this, of course. And
absolutely.
Please tell your people check out SRS Paranormal and the Expo and all that good stuff.
Yep, and we'll continue to, like I said, we'll continue to share anything you guys got, we share. So definitely huge fans of SRS. We love you guys.
Thank you. Same here.
Yeah.
Well, it was great talking to you, Taryn. You have a great night.
You too. Thank you.
All right, tell Beth and then we said hi.
I will, for sure.
All right, Bo.
Crap. Hold on. I hit the wrong button. I'm calling you back. I hit the wrong button.
Hello?
So I hit the wrong button. You were in the middle of saying something.
Do what?
I said I hit the wrong button and you were in the middle of saying something.
Oh no, I was just telling you goodbye.
Oh, that's it. That's all yours. Okay. I just didn't want. I didn't want you to think I just like rudely hung up while you were in the middle of saying something.
No, I said bye, and I was just saying goodbye real quick. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, good night, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time out, and
Well, thank you for having us.
And thank you
Anytime,
for your.
We love it.
And thank you.
Gratuitously promoting our expo over there.
Yes, and thank you for fighting fires and being good firemen and keeping your community safe.
Well,
thank you.
All right, we'll talk soon.
All right.
All right, bye-bye. All right, there we go. Those guys are great. I love them so much. Very tinnish. What does that mean, Bill? Those I need my readers, apparently. Yes. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Those guys are so great. Please go on their page, like their page, SRS Paranormal. They're from Tennessee, and they are really, really awesome. Great people to work with. But sadly, they live in Tennessee. They're not closer to us. I wish they were. But one day we will make it. Bill, what does very tinnish mean? Me? Like my face? Those can't voices. Tinnish. I don't know what tinnish means. I'm sorry. Yeah, Dom, go on their page. You'll love them. They're great. They really are. And very professional. And they really do give a good positive in the paranormal. They're a very positive influence in the paranormal field for sure. So if anybody is sick of the drama stuff and all that stuff, just SRS, they're hands down a good group of guys and gals. But I'm gonna head out. Tired, and it's been a long day. It's gonna be an even longer day tomorrow. I appreciate everybody joining us. Next week, I think we're going to be on, and I believe there is a parapsychologist that we will have on. I don't know if that's going to be next week or when that's going to take place, but he reached out and said he'd love to come on the show, and I'd love to have a parapsychologist come on the show, see what he has to say. Thank you, Dom. And again, if anybody knows anybody that charges for services, we want them to come on the show as well. I would love to talk to them. I'll say that over and over again. Between human and spirit. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the voices, for sure. Yeah, like I was saying, you can tell there's a difference. I just... There are some times where I hear things that I know if I was to because my Rob is a skeptic. So if I were to let him hear that, he'll be like, I don't hear what you're hearing. I don't, whatever. But I know what I'm hearing. And I know that I don't want to say average person, but somebody that's not really in tune or doesn't believe in it, they would be like, that's just like, that's nothing, but I have a very good ear, but I'll throw those out. I won't include them in evidence. Because, it's just too hard to, have a definitive answer, So thanks, Dom, for sharing their link. I appreciate it. And Bill, yeah, I know they were trying to plan a trip. The only thing with that, Bill, is I won't be at Selma on the 19th. I'll only be there on the 20th, which stinks. So, but I can invite them to there, but, I wouldn't be hanging out with them. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will be back next week. Hopefully I will have some more of my my people with me. Anthony's in Maryland, Sabrina had overtime at work, and Beth had car trouble, so here I was. But I think we did good, and I think Matt and Al ran it and were professional and did a great job, and I enjoyed having them on. Thanks everybody. Have a good night. See you next week.